The United States Surgeon General recently came out declaring that alcohol causes cancer and recommended that all alcoholic beverages have that little scary sign on it saying that this product causes cancer. But how does that actually work, and is there actually a safe amount of alcohol? We're going to answer those two questions in this short video. Hey everybody, Organized Biology here, where we make difficult biology concepts simple. And today we're talking specifically about how alcohol causes cancer. To start, we need to know how alcohol is processed by our body, right? So when we drink alcohol or ingest it, it's going to go into the stomach, and as it accumulates in the stomach has a very thin lining to it of a few cells. And this alcohol is amazing in that it can pass through the walls of the stomach very successfully, as well as throughout the other intestinal lining, and it'll directly jump into the bloodstream. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, we know that the blood in your body travels to virtually every cell of your body. But this section of blood is really fascinating. The blood travels directly to the liver first before basically dispersing throughout the rest of the body. We call this the hepatic portal system. This is a really nifty system because we know that the liver does a lot of detoxifying and neutralizing of bad chemicals that we may eat. So the body is smart and says, hey, anything we ingest from stomach through the intestines, it'll travel first to the liver to again get detoxified before going to the rest of the body. So you see that word in here, toxified. We are saying that this molecule, alcohol, is a toxin, and it is. In fact, alcohol has been designated for many decades as a class 1 carcinogen. Gen meaning to create, and carcino referring to cancerous. So we've got a cancer-causing molecule in our body that's traveling to the liver first. So naturally, the liver's like, this is a bad molecule. Well, we've got to alter it in some way so it doesn't bother you. Very similar to how we handcuff criminals so that they don't bother us anymore. So we need to essentially handcuff alcohol, make sure it doesn't bother our body before it gets to every tissue of our body. So the liver cells, called the hepatocytes, translating to liver cell, are going to take in this alcohol to themselves. So you're going to be like, we see this alcohol and we are going to handcuff it. How does it do that? Well, the hepatocytes will have a very important protein inside of them called an enzyme. And these enzymes are called alcohol dehydrogenase. As you can guess, these enzymes are kind of shaped in such a way where they can actually fit the alcohol inside of their active sites, and they're going to alter the alcohol, okay? Now, what's kind of a catch-22 here is that alcohol, again, is a toxin, but the byproduct we make from this reaction when we actually alter this alcohol turns into something called acetaldehyde. So again, we're altering alcohol, we're putting out acetaldehyde. Now, why did I draw this one in kind of this bright red color? Well, it's because this is also a class 1 carcinogen. In fact, it's supposed to be about 1,000 times worse than alcohol in terms of its cancer-causing effect. So you may say, well, Mr. J, wasn't the goal to basically neutralize this stuff? Well, yes, because what we can do next to the acetaldehyde is use a different enzyme called acetaldehyde dehydrogenase. So these, again, are enzymes that are then going to neutralize acetaldehyde. Now, what will happen then is acetaldehyde gets bound to those enzymes, and out pops out a very common non-dangerous chemical called acetate. Now, acetate, I drew in this nice purple color because it's nice and pretty and doesn't bother your body. In fact, acetate can actually go into something called the Krebs cycle to eventually make that wonderful molecule ATP. This is energy for your body. So this is actually the reason alcohol has calories, because we convert it into something that can directly make energy, and that is a calorie. So the enzymes in the hepatocytes are neutralizing it all the way down to something that we can make energy from. Why are they so dangerous? It's not like they're going anywhere, right? They're just kind of staying in the liver. Well, that's not particularly true. Notice inside the liver cell, I only drew a few enzymes. And in fact, the liver cells can only hold so many enzymes at a time, so it can only neutralize so much alcohol at a time. In fact, the liver is known to be able to neutralize into acetate about 1.5 ounces of alcohol per hour. So that's basically one standard drink per hour. So the worry becomes, what if you're drinking more than that in that hour period of time? Well, in that case, we can't neutralize all the alcohol we're ingesting. So some of that alcohol is going to get through the liver and get to the rest of the body. Now, not only that, but some of the converted alcohol to acetaldehyde could also leak into the bloodstream as well. And this is what happens virtually all the time you ingest alcohol. The liver can't neutralize it all in one fell swoop, so it's got to let some go and bypass. It's like you're doing an assembly line, right? And you're trying to grab as many things off the assembly line as possible, but it just keeps coming, and some of them might leak past you. And that's the case here. So we've got two class 1 carcinogenic molecules traveling through the bloodstream that goes every part of your body. And this is where the danger comes. It can go to a variety of tissues, particularly the brain, because it crosses that blood-brain barrier that you may have heard about. It can also go to different epithelial tissue. That's basically different cells that line the body, including the throat and the stomach lining, intestinal lining. And then finally, is particularly for women, breast tissue. And that's not to include the liver itself, as well as the colon. All of those are different tissues affected by alcohol that we know cause cancer, brain cancers, epithelial tissue cancers, as well as breast cancer. But again, we haven't answered the question how, right? What exactly do these molecules do that cause the cells to get cancerous? Well, we need to know that cancer specifically is rapid, unregulated cell growth and division. So for example, let's say we have a brain cell here that normally would just look like this and isn't doing a whole lot. It's just basically growing, doing its job, and so forth. However, if it gets cancerous, that cell will decide, hey, I need to divide and grow a lot. So it's going to basically create this big mass of cells that won't be functioning properly, and that's what causes a tumor. And many tumors can be cancerous and start moving and invading and damaging other organ systems. So what are these molecules doing to these cells to cause them to get cancerous? Well, the answer lies within a common molecule you've heard of before, DNA. You see, the DNA is housed in the nuclei of cells, the center part of the cells, the dark part, and the DNA tells those cells basically when to grow, when to divide, and when to stop growing and dividing. So as a normal healthy cell, we're going to be reading the DNA, it's going to grow, it's going to divide, and then it's going to stop, and it's going to do its function properly. But when it becomes cancerous, all of a sudden the cells grow and divide rapidly. So what's happening here? Well, we know that the DNA, particular sequences of DNA, have to get damaged. And how do they get damaged? These molecules here. As these molecules actually pass through the blood and into the cells like the epithelial cells and the brain cells, what they do is they create molecules called free radicals. And if you've ever known a really radical person, they're kind of crazy and sometimes they can do a lot of damage, right? Well, free radicals are no different. I like to think of free radicals as little tiny Mike Tysons inside of your cells. And what does Mike Tyson do really well? He punches things really hard all over the place. So what free radicals do is they begin to quite literally punch and damage different parts of your cell's DNA. Well, the DNA doesn't like to be broken clearly, so sometimes the DNA can rearrange itself. Or we'll just say changes. And this is called a mutation. And when you screw up the DNA's instructions, obviously now the cells don't know when to grow and divide and stop. So sometimes these mutations can lead, again, to cells becoming cancerous. But wait, if you're over the age of 21, chances are you've had a drink or two, and most likely none of you have cancer, or very few of you have cancer. So why am I saying that this damage to the DNA causes direct cancer? Well, the key here lies between which part of your DNA gets mutated. If a specific sequence in your DNA gets mutated called a proto-oncogene, the ones dealing with telling the cells when to grow, divide, and stop, it's much more likely that you will have a cancerous cell. However, if different parts of your DNA that don't really deal with cell growth and division get damaged, it's likely not going to lead to cancer. But again, it's all about risk. Increasing alcohol consumption increases risk of damaging the DNA through the free radicals, thus increasing the risk for cancer. Now, the last question I wanted to address, what's a safe amount of alcohol? Well, like I said before, anytime you put that into your bloodstream, goes to the liver, some of it is going to leak out. The liver can't process out all the alcohol you drink in a moment, so chances are some parts are going to leak out. And with any little part leaking out, you increase your cancer risk. So there is no safe level of alcohol to drink. It's all about risk mitigation as well as moderation.